I got it, Gwen.
Thank you. That's it. I thought us finding the on/off button was a big deal.
I need a wide-angle lens here. Did you get my message?
Maybe I'll meet with that.
I didn't get that right there in my packet.
No, I just had it. We had it at the
I
last meeting.
apologize,
Yeah.
I
That's okay.
could have been here tonight, I was on the way.
I had to call Elaine.
That's all right, I was still in the
You
office.
sent me a thing, but then I couldn't find it on my phone.
You ready to begin the regular meeting?
Yep, we're ready.
I'm ready.
I'm just going to pass that to
Did you
Susan.
guys all sign this?
I did.
These are
You want to pay the whole issue.
they're all accepted.
Yeah.
Right. Those are extras. If I'm going crazy, I just misplaced something, I'll find it.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order at 5:50. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. I see a new face in the crowd.
Yes.
Identify yourself and what can we do for you?
My name is Colin Brown. And something quick to pass out.
Yep.
He's on the agenda.
Oh, he is?
Yep. He's number 6.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you're already on here.
Okay.
You gotta wait your turn.
I'll still tell.
Thank you.
Colin, could I have an extra one for a board member who's not here? I'm trying to collect theirs here. Thank you.
All right, adjustments to the agenda. Does anyone have any?
I'm all set.
Anyone else? I'm all set.
Can,
Okay. What?
can we just be, put things, move
Flexible,
things
sure.
if we have to, because we really need to be in and out at times.
Yeah.
John, I'm just gonna text John when you
Yeah.
want him.
Yep.
He needs to be at that game.
You just let us know when you need to leave and we're good. Approval of the minutes. Tuesday, January 19. They're all in order, and the chair will accept a motion to accept them. They look good to me.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion on the minutes from January 19? All in favor? 4-0. Is there any public comment this evening? You'll be allowed to comment on the regular agenda items as usual, but if you had something you wanted to say and then leave, then feel free to do that. There being none, number 6, Down East Lakes Land Trust.
Yeah. Thank you all for having me here tonight. My name is Colin Brown. I'm the Education and Outreach Manager for Down East Lakes Land Trust. We're a community-led conservation group up in Grand Lake Stream. And our mission is to promote and help the economic and environmental state of the Down East Lakes region through conservation and management of the waters. And a big part of our role in the community is outreach to schools, to local school groups. And I had come up with something as a proposal tonight for an outing club for Woodland High School. We've had some trouble in the past with, getting into high schools just with time constraints and actually leading outdoor programs. And I thought that an outing club would be a good way to better reach high school students of Woodland High School, to have more of an impact in the community and to connecting kids to nature, getting them away from their iPads and iPhones and whatever. And the purpose of this would be severalfold. Not only increasing physical activity, but promoting confidence in kids, getting them to explore different areas around here, and opening their eyes to new outdoor experiences. The Down East Lakes Land Trust would be providing a lot of support for this. I would be the main contact and the advisor of this outing club. As it is, I've attached a small thing for Teens to Trails, which is a nonprofit group out of, I believe, they're founded in Brunswick, they're downstate, but they are connected all around the state in supporting these outing clubs. It's kind of been a burst of many new clubs forming around the state in the last 5 or 10 years or so. And I thought with Woodland not having one, it would be a good, the DLT would be a good resource to offer support to this. Not only with my time, but we can help with small financial costs that might be needed. Teens to Trails, we pay $75 a year for a membership to them to give us more supplies and things like that. And they also offer trips and other outing clubs around the state. So I think it would be a good fit. The support that would be needed from Woodland would obviously be a space to meet periodically, and busing and transportation for some of these events. We don't have any the Land Trust doesn't have any transportation or busing availabilities for students. And I see it as, bringing it on this year, as we still have half the year left, would be a good way to get in a few times and a few trips to get kids interested in the program, and then get the ball rolling first thing in the fall. Just going year after year. If anyone is concerned too with leadership, I'm a wilderness first responder, which is similar to like an EMT for the woods. I have current CPR certifications, and I've done a lot of outdoor leadership, not just in this area, but many parts of New England as well. So.
You've done a pretty interesting program over at Topsfield,
Yep.
East Range too.
Yep.
Saw the pictures and the write-up that was in the paper.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It was well done and well executed. And then I was over there just a little while ago. It meant a lot to the kids.
So yeah, they were a good group. And
They were
actually,
a great group.
I'm going back at end of February and
Yeah.
first week of March as well.
I understood that.
Yep.
And you've been working with Princeton too as
Yep.
well.
Nature Club on Friday mornings with their program as well.
Is that during the regular school day?
With Princeton, yeah, with
Yeah.
both schools it has been, yeah. We do offer like nature clubs for after-school programs as well. Sometimes with busing and concerns of getting late in the day, it's easier to do during the school day as well. This program would primarily be an after-school program, or maybe meeting on the afternoons of half days, or it can be flexible for sure with the school schedule. I don't see it cutting into academic.
Is there an expense attached to this?
None that would be foreseen. Notable, and most like trips to local land trusts and conservation groups would be free of charge anyways. With a membership to Teens to Trails, they also that gets you free access to any state parks in the state of Maine with your kids as well. And the meetings, like I said, so the only cost that I could see for Woodland would be any busing or transportation needs. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, any relation to Alexandra Brown?
None that I know of.
Okay.
I grew up in Connecticut, and my grandfather's a Brown from Pembroke, and my grandmother's a Clark and a Harris from Eastport. So
Okay. No.
it might be.
They have a wilderness, this lady and her husband have a wilderness outdoor experience place up near Portage.
Oh, okay.
I used to work with her at the university at the camps in Princeton. So,
Okay.
yeah, just curious.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's what our kids need, our teens need. They need to be out, fresh air and learning about the outdoors, and it also can provide an outlet for things that they're dealing with, that goes on at the school or anywhere.
I've had outing clubs in 3 different high schools that I've been involved with. All of them have been extremely successful.
Is there a cap on the number of students that can participate in this?
I think and it would just be myself as a, as a solo instructor, if there would be, more teachers, we could allow more. I would definitely not want to push it over 20, just for, not even just for control. I have plenty of control of kids. Being 6'6" with a deep voice helps, but just safety, liability for that would be my biggest concern. But yeah, I could see if it does gain a lot of momentum and there's a lot of interest, having other, teachers from Woodland or other help from the land trust as well.
Do you know if any of the other schools do fundraising to help with the activities?
They do, as far as I know. I know Stephanie Allen pretty well. She started one officially this year down at Shed, and they have done, I think, a couple fundraising things. Teams for Trails as well every year offers $500 grants to different outing clubs throughout the state as a way to cut costs and offset things like that. And I think with starting one up, we actually, the land trust has a pretty good relationship with that organization, so I could see that being a good grant opportunity for next year.
Colin, could you at your convenience sometime email Bill an itinerary, the typical itinerary of things that you
Sure.
do and what's involved and all that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. And I see you're involved with quite a few schools right now.
We are, yeah, and currently we talked about Princeton and East Range. I've actually just met with Indian Township as well. We've done after-school programs with there before. This is before my time. I joined the land trust this past spring. We've done nature clubs as well with Woodland Elementary a couple of years back. And reaching out to, I did a program with Shed this fall. I did a program with Copsville Community High School. They came up for a canoe trip, and I went out and worked with them as well. So yeah, trying to expand more into the community
Yeah.
than we have in the past.
Well, this is very interesting.
When would you want to start?
I would say, probably sometime after February break, have an initial meeting of kind of get kids to a room after school and talk about what we'd like to do, what they would like to do, basically just gauge general interest and get a sign-up sheet. And then, go from there as the months get warmer and a little easier for outdoor trips.
We have a nature trail that's right off the elementary school that a few years back, we tried to revive it, but it was up to students after that to show some interest in trying to keep it going, but
It's a mess
must be
right now.
15 years ago.
Oh,
You think
I remember
that it was
Cindy-
started?
Cindy and I
It
worked
was-
on it back in the day.
It was quite good then because we had a guy came in who netted birds,
Okay.
and they did a whole lot with the elementary schools, and it was nice, and we had bat boxes and things
great.
up, and it's kind of fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, I definitely see that as it gets momentum, using it as a service learning component too, and getting kids out, helping if
Yeah.
trails need to be cleared or, hanging bird boxes
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah, that's what.
It had an
nature
outside
does.
classroom, I don't know, I suppose in the past it was used.
It has been used when I first got to the elementary school, but it's so dilapidated and grown up there.
And a lot of fall down, because we were trying to think of somebody that could go in there and get the wood out, cut it up, pile it up out there for the skating pond in the wintertime.
Definitely has potential.
Yep.
Do you do the lower grades as well, Colin?
We do, yeah. I had come up with this plan notably for, I thought, 9 through 12. I don't know, I would think usually having 7th graders with 12th graders can potentially be a bit of an issue. So.
Yeah, right, but I meant maybe at separate times. I think it would be a very important program for the lower grades as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The
Yeah.
grades I work with, I worked with, we're speaking of East Range, 3rd through 5th grade and 6th through 8th grade as well. So.
Nicole and I had a conversation earlier on at the beginning of the
Yeah.
year. And I think you talked to some teachers about wanting to do a visit.
Yeah, and they were more interested, I think, too, they were kind of waiting for springtime. Winter's tough with outdoor activities as well.
So how would you like us to move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it requires a vote, but a general consensus, I think, is move
That's all
forward
I
with
need.
this and
And I think most importantly, we talked about, or Antoinette and myself had talked about just general liability with trips and things like that. I would obviously be covered with
We-
BLS.
Yeah, the school will cover that.
Kids will be covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, excellent.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best thing to do is probably meet with Pat at some point in time, and then you schedule how you want to move
Yeah,
forward.
sounds great.
Keep me in tune, and I'll make sure the board has the information. And my email address is simply super@aos90.org.
Easy one.
Well, they did that so that if the face changes, the email doesn't have to.
If you
I'll
need,
be in touch very
Okay.
soon.
Colin, if you need help with group leaders or anything like that on any of these trips, and it wouldn't hurt to call.
Yep.
All I can say is no, but
Absolutely.
I've done it over the years quite a few times, so.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and like
Yeah.
I said, if it gets to be large groups, it's
Yeah.
probably going to be needed. So.
So,
Thank you all
all
very
right,
much
thank
for your
you.
time. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Colin.
Thank you.
That's pretty neat.
Excellent.
Like that.
Okay, John's up. Do you wanna text him, or?
I imagine it's getting close to the end of the game.
Bill, you can do your report.
I can do my
until,
report.
John gets here.
Yes, of course. You had in your packet expenditure report. I have my crib sheet. Let's keep up. And I got a couple other little announcement things too. Okay, January 31st, the expenditure report indicates is 7 to 12 months, or 58.33% of the year, because we use percentages to market expenditure or remaining amounts in this particular. So remaining amounts would be 41.77 as you go down. As before, anything that had been billed out as a annual payment or a early payment would be paid off. Accounts that had summer repairs or some of those would be billed out already and expended. The only areas, if I look at it, would be health care, health services, care, building, speech pathology. Now, speech pathology is not a problem because we get reimbursed for those, but the reimbursement follows the cost and then we take it off. So it looks like it's down. By the end of the year, it won't be down. Care buildings is really changed, is tied to a change in staff from the elementary to the high school, and a change in health as well. And then the payoff for retirement as we continue to pay off on a retired employee throughout the year because he had extended time. There's dollars in maintenance to cover those shortfalls. Elementary instruction substitute and tuition have impacted the budget, but it doesn't appear they'll cause a shortfall. And as I said, some speech will be. So total budget was $3.8 million, at $3.807903. Expenditures to date are $1,886,072.46. Balance is $1,921,830.54, or 50.46%. For the remainder 41 expected, and a 50%. My guess is that you won't have lots and lots left at the end of the year because we still have adult payments, but you will end in the right area with a plus. And I wouldn't guess at this point, but you will end with a plus.
I'm gonna knock on wood, just in case.
Well, I do constantly because I just keep waiting for the next thing to break, whether it's a roof that leaks or a boiler that goes down or something significant like dishwashers and other things. Dishwasher. We got 3 quotes on the dishwasher. As we look forward and had to order it, we had the inspector here. And Jim's in Bangor without shipping, just the part, gave us a price of $18.50 RM flag. Without shipping was $16.19. And border $15.02. We got border in, and they're on the process of, and there was no shipping. That included shipping. And that was a significant case. I quoted out a new, well, not a new, can't say that. It went on Amazon and on eBay, and looked at it, and what they have is brand new ones, sort of holdovers that they sell, I guess is the best way. They had a Hobart 15-2 dishwasher in stock, not including shipping. It was $361.55. Shipping would have been about $250, so basically $12,600 for a new replacement. And with this one, we can go another 5-6 years without a problem. And at some point in time, I think what you're going to see in the report when you get back after some discussions is we really need to do something in the future with the kitchen at the high school anyway. It'd be nice to have a kitchen cafeteria and not have to try to cook food in an old locker room and serve in the gymnasium. So that's where we're at on that. Last but not least, I had one other piece for you. This is kind of good news. We need some good news tonight. The Education Committee yesterday voted 10-3 against LD 1544. LD 1544 was an act to improve teaching assignments in Maine. And in reality, it was an attempt to limit your school board's legal authority to adopt educational policy. And it would have become negotiable.
Who the culprit, Bill?
Who was the culprit?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who put that bill out, but the bill, as policy, would have dealt with things like teacher transfers, and it was the first step to really put all of those kinds of policies we have and that we're dealing with right now on the table for negotiations. This would have been a long process. So that's gone and off the table. That's, for you, good news. For others, maybe not so good. That's all I've got.
Excellent, okay. We have John Rogers up next for, if you remember a couple of months ago, we asked him to pursue
Could I have
or
an
look
extra
into
one
the,
too, John, for Becky?
joining the Northern League.
Not Becky.
And
Crystal.
Crystal, thank you. Mine went blank. You sitting next to me.
he's done all the legwork. And you all saw the questions that I emailed John today that everyone was asking. And he's come very prepared. So here they are. So come down, read down through those, and if you have any additional questions or side questions, ask John. If not, then we'll move on. Now, I know wrestling's not on here, but does that mean it's not going to be on here, John, for
Well,
under question 4, or?
What most of the state does is combines with the PVC. The PVC is the biggest wrestling unit. The northern teams, and right now the only two in the county are us and WA. Callis didn't have a team this year. We kind of follow their lead. They give us meets that we can go to, and they're basically all in the PVC.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those meets are multiple team meets, aren't they?
Always 3 or more.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
We
The
hosted-
best
we
ones are
hosted a
7
number.
or 8 teams.
Yeah, we hosted a number of them at the Cones.
Yeah. The team actually this weekend is going to the regionals down in Winslow.
Under number 5,
Yep.
John, is Machias still going to be with us, or are they moving on to PVC, or?
Okay, Machias and Narraguagus have already been accepted in the PVC. The PVC is, at the best they can, promising to keep our DAC intact. And that's important not only to the good teams like Callis, well, not Callis, but Narraguagus and Machias, who are going in the PVC, but it's important to us in Shed as well, because we want to keep those close games going on. What we aren't going to be able to do anymore is play a team 3 times.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is a good.
Yeah.
It's awful to play 3 times, and that's what we've been doing just to make schedules. So the advantage of going us and Shed north is proximity, and for Machias and Narraguagus is PVC, is proximity for them.
And basically, they'd all be home away, home, and then
That's all we'll have is home and away, yeah.
with each team, basically.
Getting back to the PVC for just a second, Machias, Guegas, Callis, and WA are all PVC now. That used to be DAC.
Yeah.
They have no choice other than to ask who they'd like to play locally, whereas the North will work with us. What happened to Callis the last couple of years, they've ended up with games where they've had to go all the way to Fort Kent.
Yeah.
And that's a hike.
Yep.
Mm.
Okay, so,
Good thing Allagash didn't slow
They all go to Fort Kent.
it. I know they do.
Yeah.
okay, I know, on number 10, John,
Yep.
conceivably, we could send varsity, both girls and boys varsity teams to one town up north
Yep.
and play those games on a Saturday.
We do
Then
that.
then they would come down here for one day.
Yeah.
Instead of, is that how that's gonna work?
And
you think?
a lot of times that's preferred, only because if you split them up, then you've got double everything
Right,
cost-wise.
yeah,
And we are doing that right now with both East Grand and Southern Aroostook.
Right.
and do you know for sure, what other JV sports the Northern League will have for our boys to play with and girls to play with?
Only basketball is the only sport in C and D that have JV teams.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
You get up into B and A and you get JV teams and freshman teams. You
Yeah.
have enough kids that they can do that, but for C and D, there's no JVs up in basketball.
Okay, so it's possible that they could miss more school time depending on where they go.
Exactly. Yeah, we know we're going to miss more because we're going to lose at least one trip to Eastport and one trip to Narragansett, and they're right within close proximity. So
What do you think will be a normal amount of games scheduled? Is it going to increase to like 16 or 18 or?
well, the
Anything
three
like that,
three
or-
seasons you have fall, that's 14 games. Basketball is 18, and baseball, softball is 16.
Okay, so you're going to keep it like that?
They're all different. We're going to try to fill a schedule each time.
Yeah.
We always have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's what led you to playing 3 games with some teams.
Right.
Who does the scheduling, Jim?
In our DAC, we meet like here, just like this, and we do it amongst ourselves. In the PVC, there's one guy that does everything. He gets it approved by the PVC, and then they send it out. And it's kind of a rubber stamp, so you might not like what you got, but there's no point in raising your hand because it's not going to do any
That's the way
good.
it is.
And in the Northern League, they do the same thing as we do. They meet and do it to make it work for everybody. Very much more reasonable up there and easier to work with and very friendly.
Well,
I mean, that meeting that we had a month or so ago where we went and talked to them, when we left, they opened their league up to teams outside the Aroostook County, which had never been done before. They did that the same day we talked to them, which is pretty nice.
And would our teams qualify for the All-Stars and the
Everything.
scholarships and all
Everything.
that?
Once you join, see, what we're doing now is just kind of asking and hoping we can get these games.
Mhm.
Like we're playing East Grand and Southern Aroostook. Next fall, they might say we can't, but as a member,
They
we
can't,
get all the
they
privileges.
can't say no.
Yeah, we get all the privileges.
So through and through, this looks like a pretty good deal for us. Would you-
Yeah, the one exception is might be a little bit more travel,
Mhm.
but we know that's going to happen. Nothing we can do about it. And they're really friendly up there. I think the county's great.
Does anyone have any questions?
Could have been worse if you had to go south to 5 games.
I grew up south. I wouldn't want to be down there.
No, I'm serious.
I know.
I think it's a better deal.
Yeah.
We'll get the amount of games that we need.
And you'll get the competition level. that
Yep.
you
Yes, Mr. Q.
I'm sorry, what happened to Shed?
Shed and us are applying. We
Okay.
both applied. Yeah. The only team that hasn't done anything, and they're kind of like this anyhow, is Jonesport Beals. I mean, when you go from Jonesport into Beals, it's like two different worlds, and when they get together, it can be fun at times. They're not going to approach anybody and just hope they can make it work out, which is scary. You know, I don't know why they would do that, but that's what, they're the only ones that's not approaching.
They'll try to do an independent schedule by themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick up where they can and beg where they can.
When do you think you'll find out, John, whether we get accepted?
March 1, they're talking about it. And I asked if they wanted us there, and after talking to two people up there that are really established, I think it'll be more comfortable for them, for us not to be there, so they can talk. If we're sitting there, they might be hesitant to say something. I'd rather have them work it out, and if there's any kinks, deal with it. So we should know after that meeting, March 1.
Now, would you, if you had the opportunity, would you sign us up for all of the benefits? For like the...
It's automatic.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Yep.
The scheduling and the games and the awards and everything are all automatic.
It is
Once you're in the
okay.
Mm-hmm.
league, you
Because it sounded like there might have been two different entry fees, but
No, there's dues and scholarship fee.
dues, okay.
Where our kids are eligible for the scholarships as well.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, John, appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Good work.
Thank you.
very good.
Did you say that?
14 the fall, 16 in
18 and
baseball,
16.
18 in
That's what I
basketball.
thought I heard.
14, 18, 16.
That's what I wrote.
Okay. Thought you were going the other way there for a minute. What the heck I did with my packet?
All right, we got principals' reports. Patty, you have time to do yours?
Yep,
Okay.
mine was very short. Can find it. We're really stepping up now. It's graduation is in the forefront. That'll be the focus of our next semester. Is getting ready for graduation and prom and end of the year and students having the credits that they need. We are purchasing the NUIA test. We're hoping to be able to test sometime in February. We've had some problems with the uploading system and whatnot, but that's just the way it is. We've had a lot of help from the people that run the association, so it's not too much. I attached as close as I could get to the senior trip, just because you guys had mentioned at a previous meeting that you wanted that. And early release was January 15th. The teachers continue to work on their common rubrics and assessments, which basically that's what we're spending our entire year and had spent all last year on, is getting ready for this proficiency-based education next year to be set in grades 7, 8, and 9, and that's what we'll continue working on until we get there, and then probably some.
But just for an FYI to the other board members, sat with Patty today for a few minutes, and one of the conversations was about professional development and the monies that were going to be required to get the staff up to speed on the new system that we have going into effect here. And I don't think there's going to be a big problem with getting the monies, because there's already some there.
Yeah.
But if we needed a little more than, or whatever it takes, I was enthusiastic that we might be able to raise that money. But what I did find out is that there does not seem to be enough times and enough days in the week to get the professional development going. So that's going to be a problem. But I would like to have someone come up with an idea that, where we can get around this. And I had an idea, just off the top of my head, that maybe we could have the staff come in 3 days early in the fall. Do you think it would take about 3 days of training to get everyone going, Patty, or do you think it'd be more than that? But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Do you think those days could be, if we could fund it, do you think those days could be done before the beginning of the the school year?
You could, but it'd have to be voluntary because the teacher's contract is a certain number of days. And I have to leave. I just got
Okay.
text.
All right, so we can continue this with Bill, because he and I
Okay.
talked about it as well,
And
but,
if you get to the policy, I have those copied off here.
Okay, thank you.
And Gwen and Elaine were there anyway, so, and Mr. McHugh and
Yep.
Pat, so any of them can speak to them.
Okay.
so,
We have a couple of places, we know that we have some funds within the budget, it's not huge, and we can look at what it might take, and I can talk with Patty what actual needs might be for any outside help. We have Title II, which is, for the most part, professional development, and it's about 19,142, and a good share of that can be dedicated to professional development if needed, and would buy a significant amount of time. My suggestion, because we can't infringe on the contract, would be to invite staff and offer a stipend amount per diem, not at a per diem rate, but an amount per day to attend as a stipend to be a part of it. Totally voluntary, but at least giving them a little bit of money for their efforts and additional time away from family. That wouldn't be a significant cost, and typically we've done that at about $100 a day in the past with other staff. 3 days, $300, number of staff, we're not talking about mega bucks, I guess, that's pretty good. And they'd have to be totally involuntary with the demand. If you demand that they're going to be here, you're going to negotiate it, you're going to pay it at per diem rate, which is going to be anywhere from $250 to $400 a day per head.
Steve, I'd like to ask you what your thoughts are on this, because where I'm coming from is we're putting in all this new innovative stuff, but it's not going to make any sense to have it in place if the staff isn't prepared to, manipulate it. So, what are your thoughts on?
Well, each year we have 6 teacher workshop days and they're built right into the schedule. And there's 6 days.
But they're spread out over the whole year. I mean, I'm talking about getting
Right.
people up to speed prior to.
Yeah, well, like the contract says, if you want to have us in, you just pay the per diem rate. It's fair, equitable.
Would some of this professional development, could it take place at staff meetings?
Well, that's what we're trying to find out. Yeah, we're just looking for ideas.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
throwing out
Yeah.
an idea as well.
Yeah,
I think basically Patty does quite a bit at the staff meetings with proficiency based to try to keep everybody up to speed with any changes or issues or things that have happened. And I'm sure there's discussions about grades and about what those look like and how we're going to go forward. And I know there's been discussion at staff meetings about the policies that come forward. And with the leadership group, there's been quite a bit of discussion. So, yeah, that happens, but you're talking about an hour's time. And it's not a lot of time to get everything that's happening in school that needs to be taken care of, and then have additional professional development. You need a block, a good block of time.
Well, at any rate, just for informational purposes, I've asked Bill to try to work something out, try to get creative and imaginative here to see how we can accomplish this goal. So, and I'm sure he'll have to work with the union and all of that. So, it'd be nice if we could get that going.
I think.
Can I
Sounds good.
make another suggestion is that when we're talking about professional development, we have to be having a focus. And for every hour that's spent there, you really need to have it spelled out. We're working on this today, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can determine how much time do we really need for professional development. There is a lot going on, so It is a lot of time that needs to be invested.
Ms. Foley, how are you?
Fine, Andy. I'm just curious, you said you had a conversation with Patty on the subject. Did she give you any idea how much time she thought we would need to allocate for professional development?
Just toss some ideas around. I think what she's planning on doing is having someone come in
Mm-hmm, yeah.
and, I guess, put on a seminar of some sort.
Mm-hmm. I was just wondering if she had any kind of ballpark idea of how many hours she
I'm-
expected it would take.
Well, you
It's
know,
hard to plan.
it is hard to plan, but, you know, we're tossing around like 3 to 5 days here,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all I know.
Yeah, it would be more, there are a number of folks across the state tied to other schools that are well along the way, as you know, Pat, with the whole process that we'd love to be able to invite up. And cost to have those folks comes up is basically the transportation to get here and a good thank you, especially if school's not in session in their district. I mean, there are a few state people, not many, that we can invite up. So those costs for trainers, if we should say, won't be significant unless we bring somebody in from the outside. I'd have to go to grant fund someplace to find dollars for that, because typically they're $500 to $1,000 a day.
Yeah, it's just my experience with a lot of this stuff has been that it's very hard to do in little postage stamp pieces.
Well, we'd like
Now
to have-
here and now there.
We'd like to have a block of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've got a couple of days at the beginning of the school year, but some of that gets tied up in an annual training, which I hope I've gotten most everybody taken care of now with the computer program. Not the greatest way, but it gets it out of those first days of workshop. And then you've got to have some room planning prep time before you open the next day, so to speak. And so those 2 days of workshop really become a day, day and a half at best. So we're looking for more time than just that one day that's really available at the beginning in the calendar.
Where do these workshop days fall in our calendar?
We've got 2 at the
Are they
beginning.
fairly close together that,
No, they're spread out through the year because we have other needs as well. We've got one more year to extend for our evaluation process, and that has to be totally in place by the end of next year. I hope there'll be some more dollars tied to that so that we can utilize that for professional development as well. And we have one that's tied basically to a Washington County workshop day that happens in March, the same time as the vocational technical fair that they run, can't think of the name of it, the career competition. And I think that's scheduled for March 4 next year. And then we'd spread the others out to take care of other issues that might come up and needs, because it just seems to keep coming, it doesn't quit.
well, this proficiency-based stuff is being forced on the teachers as much as it is being forced on our kids.
Well,
So it's kind of
it's in the law,
unfair-
and that's the problem.
unfair to ask them to give up 3 days in a row, bang, 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 to get ready for it.
No, and we have to have some revisiting time throughout the year, otherwise you can't. You're going to do it, you're going to get it in place, you're going to have an understanding in a couple of days with some severe training, and then you're going to try it, but then you need time to come back out of it within a couple of weeks and say, these are the issues I'm running into, how do we solve them, and have that discussion. So when you look at the workshop schedule, you've got to work through them at the beginning, and then down about 2-3 weeks later, there's another workshop day, and that's to bring that back and say, okay, where are we, how's it working, what do we need to change? And that was our thought process as I put that together.
When we talked about the calendar last time, Mrs. Meta said something about, are you still having freshmen and 7th graders come one day ahead of everybody else?
We did this year, yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's still-
doesn't that fall on a workshop day?
Yes.
It does.
So that takes out one of our workshop days. Maybe that's something we need to look at differently. If they need time to work together on proficiency-based things for the year, maybe we need to do something different with 7th grade and freshmen taking up a whole day of everybody's schedule when you can't have a workshop.
Why do they come separate?
It's kind of an introduction that they get feeling comfortable with the building and with their teachers before upperclassmen and other people are in the building.
But they have a step-up day in the spring.
I know, they've already done both, and that's what I think maybe we need to, if they need that training time, where we're using a workshop day to do that.
Well, we have capable people here to figure all of this out, so we shouldn't burn up too much more time on it, but I just want everybody to know this is what we're up against, and we're trying to stay ahead of the curve here, so.
Yeah, and if we were looking at specific days, it would be that, probably that last full week of August, somewhere between the 22nd and the 26th, prior to school starting, if we wanted to add in anything. We could. We have a workshop typically at the end of the school year. Basically, it's a kind of a cleanup day. You'll note if you look at the calendar, it's on the 9th of June. My guess is that won't be the last day of school next year, but that's the way it's scheduled right now. We could take that workshop day and move it up into that week and then look at trying to buy an additional day somehow or provide an additional opportunity. Then you'd have at least 3 solid days of workshop prior to school to do some planning with. I'm just looking at the calendar. That last day, that's the day after students leave, early release, most of the staff can take care of things on that last early release day. Kids' last day of school have already shut down basically, so we get them in, take care of whatever we need to take care of, and get them back out again. So they have some time that day to finish up what they need in the room and take care of it. And that other workshop day was kind of finalizing grades and everything, but we could move that to the beginning of the year, utilize it differently. And that won't impact, right now this calendar aligns with Princeton and East Range. That won't, moving that day won't affect anybody else really.
And with Pat's busy schedule, I think in order to come up with a determined amount of time, when she gets a down moment, and I don't know when that ever is, she will be able to determine what those needs are and how long it will take to deliver those needs to the staff as far as professional development. I think until she has an opportunity to do that, the length of time.
To do it, right. Yeah.
Well, Steve, basically, the leadership team typically meets and really talks about, is Patty, are you on it? Yeah, talks about what the real needs are and how they want to use that workshop time. So I'm guessing, Patty, you want to take that back to the leadership team and have that discussion. Is that, I'm just guessing.
Well, I mean, the schedule is, that's educational, that's up to you
Yeah, I know.
guys to decide.
Yeah. No, I know that. So, with that said, we can make that change in the calendar really easy, and we can talk about how else we might provide additional time. You can do that now, or you can do it between now and beginning of next year, for that matter.
Yeah, we have to hear from the
'Cause it
people
doesn't
as to
affect-
how many days they're actually going to need. And
The change of that workshop date does not affect the student attendance, so you can still accept the calendar and we can deal with that workshop day.
Okay.
But there are some things on those workshops that are a mandatory thing for
We do the-
teachers to do as
Yeah.
well.
Right.
We do the
We need to
training
keep that
now,
in mind.
well, we do that training electronically now. We've got a program through MSMA, the Maine School Board Association. It offers more than we need, but it takes care of everything from ladder safety training to bloodborne pathogens to sexual harassment to
It takes
sexual...
about 8 hours to do also, Beth.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
very time consuming.
Some are annual, some are not annual, so next year won't be quite as long because some of them are biannual. Depends on OSHA requirements.
So the biannual one, well, actually, are there any that we could push until the following year?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
replace with something else?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And-
like I
and-
said, you people are,
And in some,
Let's go
I
again.
had a request because of an accident in one school, so that every employee would get first aid training. So there are 2 sections of first aid training now that they're very specific, and brought in another person to do a part of an early release day workshop, and so they all came out Red Cross certified, which was kind of nice. But it allows you to some additional time without using those workshop days is just a big issue.
all right, let's move on to the elementary school.
Okay. Last week was the end of our second quarter, well into our third quarter already. I knew the year would go fast, however, it just seems to be evaporating on us. Not enough time in the day. At our early release workshop on January the 15th, we had 2 topics. Of course, the first one was to review our crisis plan to make sure everything was in place should we have something occur unexpectedly. And our second topic was our science curriculum. And we focused on each grade and what each grade needs to focus on as part of the science curriculum. We find now that there is a lot of overlap amongst the grades into what is being presented and introduced. And we hope to have that same conversation with the junior high, 6th grade going into junior high. The teacher evaluation, the day after I did my report, we got notice that the teacher evaluation is put off for another extended year. But there's a brief overview here of what we have in place. I did, at our staff meeting, go over what Marizano's rubric looked like, and we're using one component of that. Talked about the eye observation, and that's the tool that we will be someone else will be using next year.
We will.
Do the evaluation. 100% sure that you will. It's a tool used to do the evaluation. What I do now is I write down all the teachers' names, have dates for our pre-conference, a date for the actual evaluation, and then another date for the teachers to come in and talk about the evaluation. It's going to be a whole heck of a lot different in a couple of years than this. I will tell you that I really am not a fan of the new evaluation system. But that's not mine to say much more about. Sure.
New evaluation system, is that something we did?
Nope.
No.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
okay, so you're letting us off the hook.
Okay,
good.
That's been, State's been working on that for a long time.
I didn't know if you were blaming us or
No,
not.
no, no,
Okay,
you
good.
would
Not at all.
I had you to blame.
It'd be a different tone, it'd be a different tone, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it is a different.
No, it's something that, again, the state said you have to have it piloted this year, in place next year. But now they have extended that for another year.
They extended our pilot to make sure it's right.
Yeah. The representatives from the Down East Ambulance are coming in next week to do a Valentine activity with our kids in grades K through 3. They really enjoy doing that, and they've come up with some wonderful projects for the kids to take home. Lori Pike from the Elder Abuse Task Force asked many of the elementary schools in our area to participate in making Valentines to take to nursing homes. And of course, we accepted that, and each of the grades came up with something special for her to take there.
Fantastic.
Well, I do have some good news. This is all good news, but here is some more good news. Our after-school daycare program, as you can see, the revenue that we took in was $3,548.15. Expenses, $3,319.87. We are on top by about $228.28. So that's a good thing.
So it works.
It works,
Yes,
but I
work,
want to
but
say, I
I'm
want to just put it on record right now, that I want to thank Jane for all her efforts, because I sat with her today, and she had piles and piles of paper, and she was trying to find out who paid, and balancing the accounts back, and who hadn't paid.
and then all of the contacts that go with both sides of that, is a incredible amount of time on top of trying to organize a program. So, I know she gets highly paid for doing all of this extra work, but it really deserves the thanks for doing it because it makes a difference and provides a real good experience for kids in a safe place. But it's not without sweat and tears.
Do we have
Well,
any?
thank you very much, Jane.
I even do tax reports for parents. Go back a year, how much did you spend? There is.
Have we had any problematic, like,
Do I have people
tried-
that
yes,
don't
I've
pay?
tried- I've tried to be
Do I
tactful.
have to make phone calls?
Yes.
Am I that proverbial tax person? Yes. And
Yes.
do I get some phone calls that aren't very pleasant? Yes, I do.
And like I said, she does it all for that big money.
But it is a program, even after I leave, that I really would like to see continue. It is such a wonderful opportunity for parents to have a place that they know the kids are cared for, the homework is helped with. There are activities for those kids to do, and the people that are in charge of those kids are top notch. So please try to keep that. And it isn't at any cost, other than the person that's doing it will have to work really hard.
Is that, do the schools have any affiliation with the Eastern Area Agency on Aging? That, no? So there's no income guidelines? Are you talking about income guidelines for some of the students that you're dealing with? That-
No, there's a set fee of $3.50 an hour. And the kids are charged only for the time they are there. If they leave halfway through, then they're charged half of the $3.50.
it's really good, because Ryland used it a lot, or I used it for Ryland, but this year I think I've only used it like once because I was late getting back from somewhere and I just called and said,
Yeah, they get a tax for child care expenses.
And this has gone through the Department of Education, so everything is the way that it should be as far as the fiscal work and expenses and whatever is necessary for that program to continue.
So keep that in back of your mind as we go forward to make decisions. Just another part of that position, unfortunately, that doesn't really show up anywhere but occurs. Hopefully whoever takes it over will be able to carry it on.
Excellent.
Calendar, I guess, is next.
Thank you very much.
You got your 16-17 calendar.
Yep.
And as I just stated, we can make some adjustments. We could move that last W on what would be scheduled on the 9th to the beginning of the year to add an additional day prior to the school opening. Elementary can use that time, that's no problem. High school certainly could use it for further work on proficiency-based standards. So we can still talk about what additional time Pat might need and take a look at what the best way to do that and come back with a proposal for you. But you can accept a calendar as far as student days and so on without having to worry about that workshop day.
is that including the 7th, 9th grade day in the fall, or
Yeah,
is
it
that
still would be.
replacing that?
It would still include that.
We won't replace that.
We wouldn't replace it, no. Now, this would just move a workshop so there'd be 2 solid days. And then we'd be talking about how do we get a 3rd solid day.
And does that have to be negotiated with the teachers?
Could have to be, or we can, if we make, I want to say that, Steve, if I make Steve show up, I've got to negotiate and pay him basically per diem, he would accept it.
Well, that's already.
Yeah. And so if I offer an opportunity and not make anybody, but offer a stipend for coming, I'll get whomever. It all depends on which way we can go.
I'll be
Is
anxious.
that fair enough?
Are you looking to do that, or are you looking to just take one of the workshop days that we have and moving it there?
Well, I was moving the last one at the end, to the beginning.
Which one?
That would be
Last
the
day of
one
the year.
on
Oh.
June
Night.
9th. And so we have early release, they'd have to finish up whatever in the end.
So that's not negotiable.
That's not a negotiable issue. The only one that would be negotiable is if I added another one at the beginning of the year. And as I said, you weren't here, Pat, but moving that workshop, even though this calendar aligns basically across EOS, wouldn't have any effect
Right.
on the end, because you're all going to end at different times. Princeton's going to have a snow day, or East Range when nobody else has one, or East Range and Sad 30 you're going to have a snow day. So the
Yeah,
end
we wouldn't
is
have
not
that.
going to, but I wanted to coordinate as much of the early release and workshop time. And the workshop on March 3rd, I was wrong, it's the 3rd, is tied to, and this in Washington County, where we're planning a huge workshop for staff, but it ties with the VOC awards program. So, Skills USA, thank you. My mind was blank on what it was.
Meeting's over.
And the whole, everybody's out that week, every school's out because of Skills USA. Okay, so, your pleasure. Need a motion?
Motion and a second for
Yep.
the 2016-17 school calendar. Yes.
I move that we accept the school calendar with the possibility of
Subject to,
A little workshop
the
change.
moving,
Yep.
the moving of the workshop day.
okay, so moved and seconded to accept the 2016-17 school calendar. Any discussion? All in favor? I think it's 4-0.
It's you. Okay.
And
I passed out the the new, fresh of the ones you've already accepted. And these, we have second reading on, and I did meet with Dr. McHugh, and we did take care of some rewrites on the ones in this packet, so I'll go over those rewrites with you. That could take a little while, but I'll give you an idea of what may have changed. And
We've got a really packed gym. Do you mind if I go out and supervise?
not at all.
I'll stack this for you, maybe you grab one anyway.
Yeah,
Yep, you can.
I'm on the sidewalk. As it is.
I got all kinds of extras, thank God.
Thanks, Patty.
You're welcome.
They try to take care of me, but it's a full-time job. Alright, correct.
So when the girls' game?
Girls, good game.
All right.
Good.
Okay, on EBC, oh, Gwen's gone. She come back?
Yeah, it should be back. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Okay,
Yeah,
on
go ahead.
EBCF, the first one, EBCF, automatic external defibrillators, AEDs. Down in the third paragraph, it talks about protocols for use. We've changed, moved the word use for protocols for the storage, location, testing, and use and maintenance. So we just realigned where use was so that it flowed a little bit better and has a little bit more emphasis so that we can have protocols for the use of it. And basically that was the only change on that policy. On the next policy, which would be, I gotta see which one we got next. Concussions and head injuries. I gotta get my other ones in the same order. Couple of changes. Under training, the sentence that starts with, in June of each year, the athletic director designee will identify, we've added that all school employees, not just that all school employees, sponsoring athletic activities rather than that may pose a risk. Not all will, but some will. And then in the end of that, we added that last sentence, all injuries to the head and loss of consciousness are a potential risk for concussion. To reemphasize that anytime that happens, it's a risk and needs to be dealt with. Under the next paragraph, where it starts all coaches, including volunteer coaches, we added the word, rather than just undergo training, we added undergo approved training. And,
Bill, can I interrupt here?
sure,
Rudely interrupt?
no problem.
These policies here that we're going through now with the changes have had a first reading.
Yep, and we said at the first reading that we're going to have Dr. McHugh and others review it, and then we bring it back for a second reading with changes.
Got that.
Okay?
I
just want you to know what changes were, that's all.
Well, in the interest of time, I'm fairly confident that the changes made are probably the best that could possibly be done, and I'm not sure that we should sit here and go through all the changes. Now, and that's just my opinion.
I don't
so
disagree with you.
I would ask the other board members if they would,
Which ones are we on?
the ones
Right
that
now,
we've already had the first reading, and
Management of concussions
the
is
committee
that
that
staff.
you were on that made the changes.
The only one I would have problems with is this, and we have problems with the wording
Which
on
one?
the co-curriculum.
Oh,
The
we haven't
co-curriculum.
done those yet.
Well,
We're gonna get
this
those
is this
next.
packet right here. This is this one right here,
Okay, I got it.
okay?
I'm back.
So I'm of the opinion that however they are presented to us at this time are sufficient to vote, confident that if we vote on them, we won't be making a mistake, so.
No, I don't think you will be at all.
Does everyone want to, what do you think, Elaine? You wanna-
I think the medical ones, then those are going to be fine, but the code of conduct, I think we ought to take a look at.
Okay.
Harassment and those kind of things are more, I'm not a medical person, but
Right? Well, is that the first one that,
The student code of conduct,
yeah,
JIC.
JIC.
JIC. There's a couple of small changes, but not.
Steve?
Just so I'm clear, these have already been covered by
Under a
somebody,
first reading,
so they should all be grammatically correct and everything needs to be, should be good.
that's correct.
It should be.
Oh,
Why,
Okay.
did you find something?
well, just, maybe not, I mean, the one that Bill just read doesn't sound like it's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Which one is it?
Which one are you referring to?
The head
The
injury.
one- The last one, the head injury one. Says by June 30th of each year, the athletic director or designee will identify that all the school-sponsored athletic activities may pose a risk of concussion or other head injury. But then it's saying just the ones where you've lost consciousness, but that's not the case. You don't have to lose consciousness to have a concussion.
Correct.
So it's not really,
It's not what it's supposed to say. It's supposed to say any head injury and loss of consciousness.
this says all injuries to the head with loss of consciousness are potential risk for concussion. Where you don't have to lose consciousness to have a
Right.
concussion. So I'm not sure that it's saying
What it should be.
what it should be saying, so.
All right, so I guess we're gonna go through these.
we haven't had a chance to read it.
Okay, Tom.
We have
All injuries to the head.
I don't have it in front of me.
I got it.
You got an extra copy?
Okay. I just have to find the right stack now. No, I don't. I got the one I wrote all over.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, this is the one I wrote on, Tom.
What?
This is the one I wrote on.
Bill,
Yeah, I like Jane's idea too.
Bill,
Yeah.
we think that we might ought to take these home and read them, then come back at the next meeting and then just have whatever changes we need.
And then
or-
that'll give Tom a chance to double check my corrections.
I'll have
And
to
I've
sit-
got your other ones
Yeah.
on my desk anyway. Just stop by and
I'll
if I'm
stop
not
by
right
and get
there,
this.
I'll put them in a stack so the rubber band, the girls can grab them.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't get rid of them, I still got
So this
them.
stack we need to reread.
Okay,
Yeah, so this will be the Feb 19, the next meeting?
yes,
What's the next
that
one?
sounds right to
Write
me.
it down.
February.
So, this is my stack, and we're going to
February 8th.
hold,
What?
Is that one
We
budget?
should be having a
Budget.
regular.
no, that's
Budget
budget,
meeting.
that's
Next.
budget.
16.
The next regular,
16th would be,
The next regular
Nope.
meeting is
actually 22nd,
the 22nd.
because the
That's after
16th is
vacation
February
week.
vacation.
22nd.
Nobody's around.
22nd is a Monday.
That's right, we had to make a change because of February vacation.
All right, so is it just a budget meeting or a school board meeting?
The
Both.
8th Monday is a school budget meeting,
school budget at 5, school committee afterwards.
and then the
And
other
it's on a
one
Monday.
is a Monday.
22nd.
The 22nd, which is a budget followed by a board.
Yay.
And February 8th is at 4:30.
Okay. Held
Budget.
All right.
for
Yeah.
the 16th, no, the 22nd.
22nd.
Got it. Okay, now we got IKA, IKL, and
And we- this is-
JICC. IKDA.
So this is for the
Did
22nd.
you give those to us?
Nope, Patty left it here, these are the
She
rewrites.
sent them in our email, you guys.
Yeah, they were sent in your email, but I got,
Yep, I didn't
I
print
got
them
the
out.
copies, if you need them.
I
We
think
write one.
I did
Okay.
too.
All right. Did- Andy, do you need a set?
I do need a set, Bill, please.
Gotcha.
I didn't get these in the email.
Should have been in your email.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
PAOS email?
Oh, you had to print them out? I didn't get anything.
Actually,
Patty.
wasn't
Yep, should have been from Patty.
It was an email from Patty. But you go in to Google, their Google Docs thing.
Do you have the
Well,
Jane?
here's the problem. They've got me for 2 emails.
I got extra one.
The one I used to
Why don't you
have,
give me the extra one?
which was SU 107, and then the new one was...
PAOS.
This is the one that went to committee and,
Yep.
I'll be honest, I am comfortable with the first two that we worked on, but the last one with the co-curricular, we struggle so much with the wording that I think,
You gotta give us a page number or something.
okay, hold on. You're comfortable with IKA
Yep.
Gwen is.
yes, I am,
and IKD, which is the honors one.
yes.
Okay, can we deal with those two for,
First.
would be first reading at this point in time, I guess I don't think we did a first reading on them, I'm trying to think back now.
I think we did.
I think we did too, I think it should be actually a second reading on
Yep.
those.
Yep.
Can we take care of those two on second reading, then we'll go back and talk about JICC?
Yep,
Does that
that's okay with me,
separate them so that we can move forward?
yes.
Okay.
So you wanna
Can I get a motion to accept
accept, yes.
IKD and
AKA.
IKA for second reading?
All right, I move that we accept policy IKA as written and IKD as written.
I second it.
Andy, Gwen.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the policies IKA and IKD as written. Any discussions? All in favor?
I will set those aside. Now, let's talk about JICC. Gwen,
Yes.
go. What's the issue?
Well, we spent an awfully lot of time on this, and we struggled with the wording
Okay.
all the way through it. And another thing that we struggled with was co-curricular and athletics. And I think that there's got to be some way that we can come up with a marking period that is not based solely around the length of a sports season.
It's every 4 weeks.
No.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
It's every 4 weeks.
What's every 4 weeks?
Progress.
I thought progress, I mean, maybe I'm gonna look down. I thought progress reports did not take you off.
They don't. They
Okay,
put you in
hold on.
academic study hall.
What takes you off is report
You
cards,
don't-
right?
Yes,
Yes.
you don't get taken off if it's during a sports season.
Okay, well, here's my confusion. We have 2 semesters, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Yep.
high school.
But yet, they've changed the names of things or something, because it was totally confusing to me. There's a progress report that comes home in November. It's called a progress report, but it used to be the quarter, right, the quarter grade, that would take you off. That's how it used to be. The progress report does not take you off anymore.
It-
The only time it does is the end of semester 1 and semester 2.
If it's at the end of a sports season.
What semester
Do you see where it's
is when you
confusing
go
to me?
Yeah, that's what, and I think we all have a problem with that.
As a parent, it was confusing because the grades didn't start over again after the progress report that came home in November. That grade continued until the end of the semester.
But they were on academic study hall.
The academic
That didn't
or
happen.
Eligibility has been determined.
That did not happen with my child. That's why I'm confused.
Let's say,
Well,
I don't
Part
know
of
what
the-
takes them off and what puts them back on.
Is academic study hall only for those students that are in co-curricular activities?
No.
no,
no, it's for everybody,
For
but,
everyone?
it's for everyone, and if
but
they're required to go to academic study hall.
these kids are
If they
required to.
have unexcused absences, or if they fail to go there, or if they go there and fail to participate, which I like that, we did insert that. You attend academic study hall, but you fail to participate, you know, it doesn't count.
So what's the difference between academic study hall and the SA?
What's this?
That's what they referred to it with me in an email, so I was
I
confused.
don't know what the MSA is.
I don't either.
Is it in this policy here?
No, I haven't seen
No.
it.
Unless they
Neither.
switched the letters around, and it was
Do you know
really
what an
academic
essay
study
is,
hall.
Pat?
Oh, they
It's
must
probably
have, they
just
just
a,
reversed your
it's probably
letters.
just a transposition of letters.
Okay, well,
Academic study
because
hall.
after that, I always referred to it as SA, because I thought that's what Patty was talking about.
It
Supposed
must
to be AS.
Okay, now I got it. No wonder I was confused.
So it's as instead of such.
Okay. Oh, man. Well, see, I don't know what takes them off and what puts them back on.
Okay, during each academic season throughout the year, the academic reports will be reviewed every 4 weeks. That's basically what Mr. Snowman was saying. After a student's involved in a seasonal extracurricular activity who is not academic eligible at the 4-week progress report, required to attend remediation until the next progress report. Failure to attend or failure to academically participate, and that's what Glenn was just saying, or result in removal from remediation when is counted as an unexcused absence. More than 2 unexcused absences result in removal from the activity. Okay, so if
And we agreed upon that,
you're
right?
failing, you're going to go to academic study hall. If you continue to follow that process, it wouldn't take very long for you to no longer be eligible. All right.
Failure to attend.
During academic study hall, students must spend remedial time for the class they are failing a minimum of 3 times weekly if they are at school
There's
to
no
year up
page
to
number on
3
mine.
times weekly. So those are 3 times you can't miss. Miss once, you got a problem, miss twice, you're done. Okay.
But
Cylinders.
as long as they attain
Number
remediation
3.
and work at it,
They're
even
able
if
to-
even if they still don't achieve partial proficiency or proficiency, in other words, to us, they can continue to fail, but they're not removed from the activity as long as they are attending remediation.
Right, until the end of that
Ranking period.
ranking period, and then if they're failing, they're removed for the next half year, basically. And it won't matter whether it is at the beginning or end, they'll be removed for the next half
Right,
year.
because it,
Which could be more than one
right,
season in reality, because it could be both,
that's correct.
fall and winter. If you're failing at the end of the year, you're gonna lose fall and winter sports.
Right, but not to ninth grade. But once.
Right,
But
correct.
it's also stipulated, once academic eligibility has been determined so that they can participate, the student remains academically eligible for the duration of that activity. So they are not going to be taken off in the middle of basketball season.
Yes, they are.
No, they're
I
not.
asked that,
Is there a 4-week
Specifically
period
asked
in
Pat.
there?
This says they're
This
not.
says they're not, and this is what we talked about.
That, look at, under 4, look at C.
I
Okay,
specifically asked her
4C.
about that today.
Once academic eligibility is determined, the student remains academically eligible for the duration of that activity season.
That is not true.
But it
But
goes on
basketball
to say,
season extends through.
but it goes on to
February.
say, two different things, I think. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. One is you're academically eligible. You're meeting standards.
Right.
You continue to be able to, I think that's what it's saying. The next one says they'll be reviewed every 4 weeks. If you're no longer academically eligible, you continue to play, but you're going to go 3 times a week to AS. And if you skip AS, you're gonna miss practice
Right.
and a game, whatever. And if you miss twice, you're done. You're still gonna be in AS,
Right.
but you're no longer gonna be in the sport. So one is, if you're as long as you're academically eligible, even in the 4-week reviews, you continue to play. The other one is, if you fall in that 4-week period of time and become not academically eligible, you go to AS, and you miss AS twice, or continue to fail,
That's correct.
you're
That's
done.
correct.
That's how I read it.
How did you read it, Mrs. Foley?
I have read it so many times, I absolutely had no idea, Elaine. I was listening to you
Tom?
guys go back and forth with this, I had no idea. My
I got-
notion about the whole thing, as I understood it, was that this is designed to create a pathway for kids not to be failing. The remediation is there in order to get kids out of that failing range, which is why it is mandatory, and why you have to participate. You can't just go and want to see.
Correct, go and sit.
So, you know, obviously, we're hoping we're not going to have kids failing off the team because they're doing more academic time. But the other piece, the other consideration that we have here is we hope to avoid any more disruption to the other kids on the team than is absolutely necessary, because we've got teams that have very few players. And if we don't make some effort here, we're going to have a field team at all, to not end up losing the team because we've got too many kids who are bouncing off. So we have to create that pathway as well. We have to create a way for the kid to continue on the team if it's humanly possible for him to do so during a period of remediation, and create as many carrots and sticks as we possibly can to keep him being remediated, in the frail hope that we can keep him from doing what we can't let him do, which is fall off
Fail.
the edge of the precipice, which means he also falls off the edge of the team, which means he might actually
Fall off the edge
impact
of
the
school.
team itself in a negative way. You see what I mean? I mean, we had a situation where we had a bare bones girls soccer team, and we had 2 kids who were in danger of failing off it. Had they done so, we would not have had enough kids left on the soccer team to field the full team. We just have to forfeit all the games for the rest of the year. It becomes a problem. That's what this piece is directed
I think that
to
does
doing.
that very successfully, but
Yeah.
I still believe, and maybe we have to wait and get this clarified, I still believe that that student will only be partially proficient or proficient or less than proficient and still will be able to play. This doesn't say at any point that they fail off. The only way they get removed is by not attending those sessions and not participating.
Correct.
So
Well,
CDD, all,
there's
if you
one
read,
other,
Or
they've got to
at
get
the
their
end
grade up.
of the ranking period, they're not meeting standard at an appropriate level. They're off for the next ranking period, which is a full half year.
No,
Which is the next
because
sport.
the
The next sport.
academic
Which is the next
eligibility.
Oh, the next sport, okay.
Right, academic eligibility
Well-
is geared by when The Maine Principals Association says practices can start.
Yeah.
We check their grades, whatever progress report date is before that. And the end of the semester does not eliminate them. They can continue that winter season.
Right,
they can
and that's
continue
what this
that
says too.
activity.
This
Right.
This says the same thing.
Well,
But
Right.
what it does say is that if they're failing, what did I just see?
The 4-week period.
We don't
No.
use the word fail, do we?
No,
Did
we
we
don't.
take all
If
those
we
out?
Yeah.
fail to meet the standard goal.
Right, that's it.
Demonstrate partial, if
The-
we demonstrate only partial proficiency.
my understanding is that they have remediation, they must attend the remediation.
Right?
A failure to attend is an unexcused absence. 2 unexcused absences and you're done.
Right.
But if you're doing the remediation and you fail to do the work sufficiently that you can demonstrate passing proficiency, then you're going to be done also. The objective is to get them to remediate so that they have proficiency.
Right. But you've still got, built within our policies also, you've got classwork and that kind of stuff. But they've got to, the assessments are independent. If they don't pass their assessments, then that's a major part of their grade, then they're not going to be able to say that they, in other words, attending remediation to me is like a tutoring session.
It is,
It is.
definitely.
And it's the assessments that are going to count. If they can't do the assessments, they're not going to get partially proficient or proficient.
That's true.
And in
to
that
our
case,
old-fashioned words, they're not going to be passing. And I think they'll still be continuing in that activity.
but if they,
I don't think it
if
removes
they
them.
aren't proficient through this remediation, when they get to their next, assuming they are interested in another sport or extracurricular activity, remember, this isn't just sports, it's all
Right.
extracurriculars.
Exactly.
If they get to the next assessment period and they haven't gotten it up to speed, up to
Right.
proficiency, they are done. They don't get
It
to
might
float
count
into the next
for
one.
the next season, for the next activity, because
Right.
we're thinking of spring sports, and I'm not thinking of the year-long activities. But this does not remove a kid because of
Mid-season.
failing grades mid-season.
No, it does not.
No, it doesn't.
No,
It
It does
doesn't.
not.
It does if she fails to comply
Right.
with the
Exactly.
remediation schedule.
Right.
Right.
And comply also with the remediation expectation that they will raise their grade.
Right. So once they
So
start
is
an
this what we
activity-
want? Is this,
Well, could I just say, we need to consider the following. As you look at this new proficiency-based model for assessment, what the state is interested in students doing is showing proficiency by the end of their high school careers. So that a student in ninth grade, let's say, may not actually be expected to be fully proficient for purposes of stuff like extracurricular activities. Do you see what I mean? So that our concern is really with the kids' willingness to participate in remediation. To use the athletic participation that he's interested in as a way of motivating him to contribute to his own process of meeting proficiency eventually. So you're right, he doesn't just flunk off. What he drops off a team for is something behavioral, a willingness to show some work ethic to merit his being allowed to continue despite his somewhat dicey academic situation.
Responsibility.
What we're actually responding to here with the remediation process is that participation element. You have to be there, you have to be doing what you're supposed to be doing there, and
but will he be able to play?
he will be able to play.
He will be able to
He will be
play.
able to
Yeah.
play.
Yes.
Unless he fails in the behavioral piece.
Right.
If he decides,
attending
well,
or
we're not, I'm not playing,
participating.
I'm a superstar, you can't live without me. We will live without you. We will somehow manage to, fold it without you.
Well, I asked that question, is this what we wanted? Is this what we want? Is this,
Well, I don't know what you guys want.
well,
That's what it says, but
I'm just-
you have to
Yeah.
decide.
That's what it says.
I would suggest, this has been kicked around a great deal, and I would suggest that for the moment, it be accepted and tried, and then come back and revisit it after you get some experience with it.
We
It's-
tried that with Fresh Start, though, remember? What happened? We had the kids coming in, they were crying. We promise that if you give us a fresh start, that we won't let you down.
Well,
Do the habits...
put your mouth where your, what's that saying?
Put your money where your mouth is.
That's it. Put your money where your mouth is. You've got to demonstrate it, not just promise it.
I need something clarified too. My understanding is that the habits of work grading does not reflect on the academic part of the rate card.
Correct.
So if their behavior, just because they don't come to study hall, that's behavior.
Correct.
But
But it affects their ability to do extracurricular. It doesn't affect their grade. It affects their ability to do extracurricular.
if they don't do their homework, that's a behavior. They're not kicked off the team or asked to go to
Right.
a
Right.
study.
They're only asked to
Right.
go to the additional sessions, tutoring sessions,
If their grades are in jeopardy.
if their grades are in jeopardy.
Yeah.
If you're doing fine, I hate to say this, but I can remember some students who, quite frankly, learned not because of me, but on account of me, so to speak, and weren't really good at their daily assignments. But come the end of the unit or section, they took the test and scored very, very high at the top of the class. In other words, they knew the math that I was teaching. And they really didn't need all the extra practice that the daily lessons held for. Did I fail them? No.
This
I would hope not.
really is for the student who is not attaining a proficiency grade. It doesn't have to do with their work habits to get them into remediation, but their performance in remediation will include their work habits. And if they don't do the work and raise their grade, or if they don't show up, or if they refuse to do the work, they're going to flunk off because of behavioral issues. So there is grade and there's behavior. The
There
behavior
is.
really only comes in if the remediation. I've known many a student who never showed up for class, but still got
Good A's,
straight A's.
yeah.
I know a couple in college who never showed up for class, but still passed them pretty
But we
easily.
talk about pathways. This is a sole pathway for that particular student to either be on the team or not on the team.
Remember, the
If he
team is
doesn't
not...
Oh,
a-
wait a minute, look,
Okay.
I want to hear what
If he
you say.
doesn't want, if he or she doesn't attend the study hall, what other alternative do you have in place to support this child? What other pathway is there?
No,
None,
there isn't.
so-
What- I don't know, Jane, what else we can do.
Remember that,
Right.
I'll go back to where I was, if I can. This
The other thing
is
you
not
can do
a
right there.
requirement of attendance or graduation. This is an additional opportunity offered to students on top of progressing forward.
It's a privilege,
Because
right.
it's a privilege and an additional opportunity granted to students. But you're not going to follow the exact desired procedures you would for graduation. So, no.
Steve?
I think Jane brings up a really good point. What is, if this doesn't work for our athletes and co-curricular people, what else do they have? So it's like, what about the kids? What pathways do we have for kids that are not involved in the school? So there should be something in place for those students as well. So not,
Well, this is
Jane has
for
a really
all
good point.
students.
The academic study hall is
isn't
still
just-
available for all students.
Yeah.
It's just that those who want to do additional beyond the school day, additional privileges, so as to speak, they have a requirement to do it, to meet it, and if not, a different pathway to go through to try to help them meet it. All students have the opportunity to take that other pathway to assist them in meeting it. These kids are required to do it in order to be privileged for the outside opportunities.
Can any student attend the Gear Up too?
Yes, yes. All students are access to Gear Up.
So that other pathway for this student could be the Gear Up.
Gear,
But
or
they
it could,
mandated for this one.
They can go to academic study hall.
but the
or
other
Gear
students
Up.
can go to
Yeah.
academic study hall as well. The academic study hall is for all. It's just that in this particular case, if you want to do the extras, you have to be at this level. All students don't have to be at that level. We're going to try and get them there and ask them to go, or try to get them to go to academic study hall. But you're not going to force them to go to academic study hall. A student who wants to fail, believe me, will fail.
And that's the other thing, Steve. You have kids that even when you put them in the academic study hall, they still do not need, they still don't do what they need to do to pass or to succeed. Okay? You can put any number of things in place, but that student needs to want to be passing. They also, and I remember Mrs. Foley saying this one time with my son, at what point is he going to be responsible? And she was right that day.
Just that day.
No, I mean, that particular meeting. And it's true, at some point, these kids need to be responsible for the outcome of what
They want to do.
what they're doing. You can only take, how does this go?
Horse to water.
A horse to water, but you can't make him drink,
Leaders.
okay? And you can lead these kids and you can have everything in place, and if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it.
But as long as they have opportunity
Exactly.
to go to all these other places,
Yep.
and those are pretty much cemented into the workday and are available to those kids that live out of town.
Right.
Let's suppose that child cannot make that after-school mandated study hall. What other options does she or he have available?
They have the study hall that's built into, isn't there one in
Remedial.
school?
We don't
Yes.
have academic study hall after school anymore.
No,
It's
we've
a
got the
six-period
remedial.
study hall, Jane.
Well,
Could I-
what is
could
the
I
one that's
just
from
speak
2:30
to
to
this?
4?
Could I just speak to this for a minute?
That's Gear Up.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a 6-period mandatory remediation period
Right.
for all students, available for all students. Those who don't require remediation can use it as a study hall. Those who are taking AP courses on our online system can use it to complete their AP courses. Alternatively, all those students who are in academic difficulties during that 6-period remediation are tagged by the teachers in whose classes they're struggling. And they go to those classes and work with those teachers. It's different from academic study hall that we used to have after school, in that the academic study hall was a study hall. There was no particular guarantee that you could necessarily get specific help in a specific subject after school. You were just there. I don't know that it was ever particularly satisfactory. The 6-period remediation period works better because you don't have a choice. I tag X number of students per day, and they have to be in my 6th period working on whatever on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because there is English social studies days. Monday and Wednesday are math science days. That's targeted. But one of the things that I would say, and it's going to be really important for you guys to consider this, is that proficiency-based education is going to require a massive training effect, because generations of students in this district have become accustomed to the traits that we would maybe associate with the D range of grades as enough to get you a diploma from this high school. Yeah, maybe just hanging on by your fingernails, but you'll coast through with a D. Well, you could pretty much slide and do nothing, sort of a bobsled to hell or something, and get a high school diploma. It wouldn't necessarily mean you had learned anything. This is not that. You can't get through here anymore with academic traits that fall in that D range, the partial proficiency range. You're going to have to be proficient. Okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to have in place then to get our kids into the proficiency range, into that 3 range. And that's where you guys and all of us are going to have to be creative about coming up with all kinds of additional instruction time. Because we're going to have kids who are going to need extended school day, extended school year. We have to get them to that 3 range, and we have to talk about all the students in school, not just the athletes. You know, a kid doesn't want to play a game enough to come in and improve his math grade or improve his science grade. What in the world? Am I supposed to beg you to be an athlete? No, I'm not interested enough in school sports to spend much time on my knees begging some kid to play basketball. But I do have a concern with the next gen workforce here. And we're not going to have a capable next generational workforce if we can't bring people to a reasonable degree of proficiency. Which means, yeah, we're going to have to crack the whip academically. More hours on the task. More focus. More personal responsibility for your own learning. Not me begging you to do it, not your parents beseeching you and bribing you. But you understanding that these are the requirements in place for life as an adult in the United States of America in the 21st century. And
Well,
so, you know, we asked
Can I say this?
to come up with suggestions that they might have from the board for ways to address this problem of additional instructional time. You know, once PDO gets in place.
I think we all might agree to the fact that this is going to need tweaking continuously. Not just this part of it, but this whole proficiency-based education thing is going to be a work in progress and continually need to be tweaked, however, to make it work, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, what does anybody think about accepting this as is, but knowing full well that we can, at any given time,
Bring it back for discussion.
bring it back for discussion?
That's what you said.
What,
You won't know how it works until you see it in.
right, got that.
Just
Good idea.
following up,
But, excuse me, Tom, but, you know, we can beat this to death, but I think we need to do something, and with knowing full well that at any given time, we can come back to the table and tweak it and make adjustments. So we gotta start somewhere, so, okay, Tom.
very quick comment, following up on what Pat just said, is, and I don't have any answers for this, I don't have any suggestions at this time. We gotta find ways to motivate the kids, catch their interest. That's gotta be, but that's what education has always been all about. But we've gotten into just rolling it along, but somehow, and it's really gonna have to start down to grammar school. Kids don't get motivated in high school. They get motivated much earlier in their education.
Thank you.
We'll
Okay,
visit our classroom.
so, here we are. We can table it, we can vote it up, we can vote down, whatever you want, but we need to do something.
I need a motion.
I just gotta say one last thing. The only concern I have, when you're talking about tweaking it, we had an issue back in November with eligibility. Tweaking it, you're gonna have to leave it for the year. Because we can't do that again.
That will affect.
That affected the whole school.
Good.
So tweaking it is great. I do agree with that. But we can't tweak it halfway through the year.
Well, I mean,
You know what I mean?
some parts we can't, I would
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah.
But others, others, I mean, we're gonna
Yeah.
play this by ear, we're all in this
Yeah,
together for the first
exactly.
time, so,
So we're all
You know,
swimming together.
I'm gonna make a motion that we accept policy JICC with the understanding that it's a work in progress.
Oh, that's the wrong one, sorry.
And we can relook at any of our policies at any time,
Right.
right? We don't have to have some special.
That's correct. But we beat this to death.
I mean, so.
Okay, for the lack of a motion, for a second, the motion to accept policy JICC has failed. The chair will entertain any other motions. pertaining to this policy?
I make a motion, we tweak it continually until we get it right.
What is it that?
Well, do you want to table it?
You gotta put it into effect, though.
Right, we have to.
There is no half. You mean
Yeah,
we
there
have
is
to.
half.
You table it until the next meeting.
table it till
Pat
the
should
next
be
meeting.
there for the entire meeting. and then-
What is it that you want to tweak? I guess I have to ask that question because Elaine and Gwen were both at the meeting, and I spoke with Andy today, so that's 3 members of the board, and there
What
was
did she
no
tell you
tweaking,
today?
there was no asking questions, there was no nothing.
I had a question at the very beginning because I've always been referred to in emails as SA. And in here it says AS, and then I hear about Gear Up is the 2:30 to 4. And I always thought, according to any email I got, that AS was 2:30 to 4. So I asked a question early on,
Right.
so I could clarify what was what.
You as a board changed academic study hall on my recommendation. But you as a board changed academic study hall to period 6 earlier this school year.
Right, but it was never, in an email that I got from you, it was referred to as SA. So I'm assuming it was, so I always referred to it, Pat over there probably has some that I referred to as SA.
Patty?
Just turn it around.
So
Academics.
I was just clarifying.
All right, Patty. On, it's what we talked about earlier, this morning. On page, under Roman numeral 4, grading with averages, under section B, students ineligible at the beginning of the season due to failing grade will remain ineligible till the season ends.
Yes.
Then you have C. Once academic eligibility has been determined, the student remains academically eligible for the duration of that activity season.
Yes.
Okay. Then you have D. Blah, blah, blah. Then you have E. Okay? Any one of those by themselves could give someone the wrong impression of how this works. But you put them all together, and it says what?
It says, if at that, the closest progress report or report card to the MPA's first season practice, if at that time a student is ineligible, so it's 2 weeks prior to the MPA season for soccer, and well, soccer's not a good example, baseball, okay? And we have a progress report that happened at that 2 weeks before that. So that would be the closest one to the MPA season. The student is ineligible, they're failing. They are ineligible for the entire baseball season. They can become re-eligible prior to the next sports season. If a student is eligible at those 2 weeks, they're passing all of their classes, and at that 2-week progress report that we got, or a report card, whatever it was, prior to that first practice by the MPA, they are eligible, then they are eligible for the entire season. But that does not preclude them from having to go to remediation if at a progress report that might show up 2 weeks later, it might show up 3 weeks later, it all depends where that last one was. When a progress report or a report card shows up, if that student is failing anything, they must go to remediation through to the next progress report or report card. If they are still failing and they're still in the middle of a season, they still have to go to remediation.
In order
If
to
they're
stay
passing
in.
at that time of the next one, then they don't have to do remediation for the remainder of the, or the next 4 weeks.
But they can be failing that subject during that season.
In the middle of the season.
Okay.
But they cannot be failing it prior to the beginning of the season.
Right.
And they can't be failing it during the season and not going to academic study hall.
And there's
Which is
performance
exactly
standards,
the way we are doing it right now.
and there's performance standards that they have to meet while they're in the remediation. They have to participate, they can't miss any time, and all that. Okay.
Yes.
I'm crystal clear again.
Okay.
One more time. I'm
Now.
crystal.
I'm fine too.
What if they're failing more than one?
If they're failing more than one during the season, at a progress, they go to remediation. That's what we do right now. They go to remediation.
1, 2, 3, or 4 wouldn't make any difference.
Yep.
As long as
Okay.
they were
They go to
passing
remediation.
before the season started. If they weren't meeting standard for 2 weeks or whenever the grade
Okay.
point was, they don't get to go on if they're not meeting it at all. But won't be any remediations to stay on the team, won't be, they don't get to do it. But once they're there, because they were passing, and they're eligible to be on the team, whether they make it or not may be another question, but they're eligible to be on in the activity, they get to stay in it as long as they follow the rest of the directions. If they don't follow the rest of the directions, which may be work habits, but it's also leading to an outcome that we want to see.
And we did add in there that they have to be academically participating, because we felt that age-old academic study hall where they'd sit there and stare at a book or not do what they were supposed to do or give the teacher a hard time or whatnot, they have to be academically participating. If not, the teacher will remove them from their classroom, and that will count as an absence.
And 2 of those, they're done.
Yeah, I would suggest, I understand the reticence to jump at this, except with snarls. I suggest you can't tweak something until you get it going and see how it works. So I suggest you accept it, knowing that it's going to need tweaking, knowing that it's going to require reviews, but find out how it works, and find out as you work on it, you'll also start to perceive ways it can be improved and make it work and be functional.
I think procedurally, Tom, I don't think anyone can make another motion on this.
Sure they can.
Well, I'm gonna look. I'm not.
You can move a motion as often as you want to. And if it's just not a desirable thing, you'll just fail. But perhaps with elucidation, you will be able to.
You can bring it back again. Or you can put it on next agenda, whichever.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna look.
Under Robert's rules, you can bring it.
Yep.
I'm gonna ask another stupid question.
There's no such thing.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get my head wrapped around this. 4 and 5. It says, for students graduating 2016 to 2019. That's what we're doing right now. And then 5 is for students graduating 2020 or later. We've reworded it for the proficiency-based.
Yes.
But it's exactly the same thing, just putting that kind of wording in.
Yes.
All right, that's what I thought.
And the reason that we did the 2.0 is because that's comparable to a 70.
Okay.
But later on, when the 70 is gone, the board may want to relook at it and change the 2.0 to something else, or they may not.
I just wanted to make sure I was understanding it correctly.
Yes. That's the only reason we even did this, was because we have now the 2 different grading systems competing with each other.
And both, it's not just co-curricular, it's for the clubs and all of that, both of these.
Extracurricular, co-curricular.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
And it also
Because we were
includes
just
the
talking about
year-long
sports.
activities.
Well,
So-
this particular part of it's based around the athletic seasons.
Okay.
The Maine Principals Association only deals with athletics
Well,
seasons.
not really, because they also do Student Council, National Honor Society. We also have to go around their dates on those types of things.
I should think that if somebody was on National Honor Society, they would want to remain on National Honor Society.
They do, but at the
Academic
same time, they
decathlon.
fail. And they get put on probation, and they do the same thing as everybody else. Class officers, all kinds of people.
Andy?
Yes, dear.
If I could suggest, I believe that you can make a motion again if it got no second.
Yes.
You can, but if you're uncomfortable and not confident about if that's right, make your motion again and leave off the piece about tweaking. It'll be a different motion. Everybody understands that all policies get tweaked as they need to in the course of anything. It doesn't need to be part of the motion.
Steve.
Okay, I'm going to, oh, go ahead, Steve, I'll let you go first.
Just, policy should be as clear as possible, so that you don't run into problems and you don't have to do a lot of tweaking. A couple of things, the section 4 that deals with students in 2016 to 2019, it doesn't discuss the year-long activities.
It discusses that at the end of the policy, because those are different from the seasonal policy.
Where would that be?
That would be
At the end of
under
4?
5, number 2.
So that would be for,
But that's under the heading of 2020 or later.
So maybe it should just be a heading of its own, VI, should be 6.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
and where was the 2-week thing in here?
It's
Because you said
it's
2
not
weeks.
2 weeks, it's
Four.
The
the,
news progress
E.
report,
the progress report or the report card closest to the beginning of the Maine Principals Association first practice, which is the beginning of the season.
Because I see one in here where it was the previous semester. I see one that says 1 week, and then I see one where it's closest to, but I didn't locate any 2-week.
Where do you see a
Notices.
1 week?
I'm still in section 4. It would be the second paragraph. And it was
So
talking
that's the
about
paragraph that we cut and pasted. Eligibility for winter activities requires passing all subjects with 70 or greater,
1 week prior.
and it should say,
1
That's,
week prior.
that's correct, Patty.
First
1
winter
week.
practice.
Well, it-
oh yeah, because we look at them 1 week prior, yeah. And I see you guys have got me doing it.
Well, just as much clarity as possible so that,
All right, it says here, I think we're well within our rights to, because of a lack of a second, to put another motion on the table. And it's on page 4-21 and it falls under number 10, if anyone's interested, in the handbook for school board members. So what I will do right now is I will move that we accept policy JICC as written.
Second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that policy JICC be adopted as read. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? All those not in favor? All right, it failed because of a tied vote.
Do I get 2 votes? Just kidding.
Well,
We need to know where to move from here. I don't know why you guys were at the last 3 meetings. And you didn't say a word.
Why didn't you speak up where you had a chance to participate and make a difference then, instead of stymieing everything right here?
Ann, were you at those meetings?
No, but I still ain't heard about them, Gwen.
okay, relax. Motion was made and failed, we're gonna move on. We'll deal with it down the road.
So could you tell us what we need to do in order to get this passed?
Well, I would strongly suggest that the board members that didn't vote in favor of it get with Bill and discuss their dislikes with it, and they'll get back to you, and Bill will get with you and see if anything can be
Because we've been asking for
compromised
this for the
upon.
last 4 meetings.
Copy that. So, we'll deal with it at the next meeting. Bill, put that on the agenda, please.
May I say something, Andy?
Certainly.
I'm the person that caused this regurgitation to take place. And I attended 3 meetings with the committee, the curriculum committee or whatever, what's the name of it? Leadership team of the high school that included 5 teachers and 2 members of the board attended and I attended. And I've got to tell you, I have never been so impressed with the work that those people did, the cooperation they had, the willingness to kick this thing around. until they got it right. I was enormously impressed and gratified by the effort put into this by the teachers. That needs to be on the record, I feel it. And Patty's work and leadership was enormous.
Well, I'm going to say this, and then we're going to move on. I'm not sure if the board members that voted in disfavor of this are willing to get with you any further with the previous committee on these, and see if they can work something out or not. Don't know. So I guess I'll leave that up to you people.
Just put it in an email, send it to me, I'll change it. Right now, whatever you want in it, we'll put in it. Whether it's the right thing for kids or not.
You think we're not working in favor of kids, Patty?
Not when you've spent 3 meetings with us, working together, and never once said that you were not in agreement with what we were doing. I mean, we went word by word by word on this document.
But you have to admit that we struggled on at the last meeting with this last section.
But you didn't say anything, Gwen. Why didn't you say, I'm still not good with this? Well, I think we need one more meeting, we need to get back again, I'm still not good with this. That's all you would have had to said, and we would have said, okay, who can meet on Wednesday?
I'm still not good with
Just like we have for the last 3 meetings.
But
All right,
it takes more than I'm not good with this. It takes
Tell us
somebody
what it is.
to say what it is you're not good with and make suggestions as to how it could be improved.
Can you tell us what it is?
I don't
Well,
know,
this
it's
is-
something that we,
Excuse me, Glenn, this isn't the time. If you have something
When
you want,
is it?
any of you or us that can send emails to Patty and let her know what we want changed, if anything, on this policy, and then hopefully we can come to a conclusion at the next meeting, okay? We do that, whatever it is you don't like about it, make a suggestion, and hopefully, work something out there, okay? I think we are done, Bill.
I think we are.
Motion to adjourn. I thank everyone for their participation.
Have many as you'd like, I got actually. A big one or a little one?
I like the big one.
They're a little big, yeah, but
next,
three
sorry.
minutes.
next meeting, budget meeting,
The 8th.
4:30.
I've got it written
Wasn't
down.
it, or did I make a mistake?
What?
IKA, these were tabled.
No, there
No, no,
wasn't.
you passed
We passed
IKA.
it.
Yeah, right. That's right, that's
IKA,
correct.
IKG.
Yes.
How unclear could it be?
No, sorry. All right.
How do you turn it off? Have you